Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to one and all gathered here to become a part of RedTeam Security Summit 2021. On behalf of RedTeam Hacker Academy Private Limited, I wish to welcome you all, the respected dignitaries and participants present here to RedTeam Security Summit 2021. And a very warm good morning and good evening to all the participants, viewers from abroad countries also. And I welcome our chief speaker of this session. Welcome you all to the grand event of Red Team Security Summit 2021. Myself, I am Jazila Vengat, event coordinator at Red Team Hacker Academy Private Limited. We are glad to host such an efficient cybersecurity geeks at the Red Team Security Summit 2021. A warm thank you to the event planners, production crews, and to the audience. You are the fabulous people over here. A massive thank you to all our event partners, supporting partners, community partners, media partners, and tech partners for this year's Red Team Security Summit 2021. We are grateful for your continued support for this essential event, which continually challenges young security professionals across the globe to develop their skills and gain the practical experience needed in industry. We hope you enjoyed working with us on this year's event and look forward to working with you in the run up to next year's event and more. It's a great auspicious day for all of us. We are honored to have the evangelist and the speaker, Mr. Savan Gadhiya sir, on this very special occasion. It is indeed a special privilege and pleasure to welcome Mr. Savan Gadhiya to deliver the speech on the topic Exploring Client-Side Attacks. So to begin with, let me give a little bit introduction about the speaker today. To start off, we are happy to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Savan Gadhiya, for the event Red Team Security Summit 2021. Mr. Savan Gadhiya is a special principal security consultant and a passionate about learning new technologies and especially interested in information security, network security, malware analysis, and cyber forensics. He has completed his master's in IT systems and network security in 2013. He has delivered a couple of workshops on server-side request forgery at COPCON 2020 and besides Ahmedabad 2019. And Mr. Savan has done his projects on logical gate, home solutions, and book bank management system. He has achieved a Hall of Fame award for reporting security vulnerability to Facebook security team and an award from Google's Vulnerability Reward program also. Moreover, he has published a book on defense against client-side attacks. He has made a big achievement. It was a great success for his valuable presentation on the topic Exploring Client-Side Attacks. Welcome, sir, to the Red Team Security Summit 2021. We can start with sharing your screen, sir. Now the stage is all under your control. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Zadina. Just a quick check that are you able to see my screen, and I'm sharing the presentation as well. Let me say. First of all, welcome to Red Team Security Summit, and we are going to present that exploring client-side attacks in as a next topic. So, first of all, I am Savan Gadhiya. I am a security researcher. First, before I started security domain, I was a developer, and there I was code. I was able to like code some applications in PHP, .NET, and this all. But then I have started like my master's degree in IT systems and network security, and I came back to in like security domain, and from like last 10 years I am in information technology, and you can consider at like more than 8 years of experience in security. I have also published a tool which is UDP Hunter, which is available on GitHub. I have also like found bugs in Google, Facebook, and Mastercard during my bug bounty um, career. You can say that yeah, I am not doing bug bounty currently, but I was doing that previously. You can follow me on like GitHub links, LinkedIn, Twitter provided on the slide. You can also reach out to my blog. So let's discuss about today's agenda. So actually, if we think about like web application attacks, there are a bunch of bunch of technologies, and we can explore web application attacks in a way like server side and client side, right? So what is the importance of client side attacks? We will discuss about this, and a few client side attacks. I am sure that I will not be able to cover all the attacks in this slide, but you can also refer the white paper which was published, and there is also a detailed information provided in there. We will also discuss about like few case studies, and we'll conclude with like questions and answers if you have anything. So let's start with the presentation. And first of all, what is web application attacks? Like it is like concluded of like we can consider it as a client side attack and server side attack, right? So if we think about remote code execution, it's a server-side attack, and what an attacker can achieve using this particular attack. An attacker can grab the access to the systems, a web application server, right, or a database server, or anything. Means the server resides on the server end, right? So that is all we can do using remote code execution. We also know that SQL injection can also lead to RC, and we can also perform command injections on that particular box, right? So using server-side request forgery, we can also fetch the server files and also perform it to get RC again. So if we talk about like cloud-based attack, I will say that the cloud-based attacks are also a server-side attacks, and the cloud actually, if we think about cloud-based attacks, we can think about like retrieving some files from the sensitive files from the cloud, uh, or we can also say that to put the cloud instances and fetch the security key and grab the access to all instances, right, whole account. So that is all we can include in server side attack. So actually, we are considering server side attacks as more severe, and that's right. It's critical and severe too. But in my opinion, client side attacks are also equivalent. We can say that it's high risk issue attacks. Like if we think about cross site scripting, cross origin resource sharing, CSRF, click checking, and many more, which we are going to discuss in this particular presentation, but not all of them. But we will try to cover as much as possible. So let's begin with the presentation on client side attacks. So what is the importance of client side attacks, right? So actually, when we think about client side attacks all has like CIA tried, and you can say that it has confidence impact, integrity impact, and availability impact, right? So why to ignore this? if it if we have a server side attacks and we have client side attacks, and both are like have CIA impacts, then why should we ignore this, right? So that is the one of the importance of client side attack. The second one is increase attack surface. Means there are more number of application users. Means if you think about like Google platform or Outlook platform, there are lots of users on that particular application, and we can target any of the users. An attacker can misuse the vulnerabilities and try to get into the system, like try to get into the user account, not a system but user's account, like using the session hijacking or something, right? So these are all very important as per perspective of application users. The third one is like targeted platforms. Like if there are like, as I've discussed, that if we think about mail applications, there are a couple of mail applications. Like there are several mail applications which are famous, but you can list like top 10 mail applications, and you will cover more than like 80% of users by these particular applications, right? On so social networking side, mail applications, e-commerce applications are the users which are using. So the attack surface is very large, I can say. Also, we can say that targeting low privilege user. So if we think about like admin panel or something and targeting low privilege user, and further escalate that user to get the high privilege using like some IDOR or something, that can also be possible using client side attacks, right? So the like if we think about the another aspect of these attacks, like hacker one has released like a top most rewarded issues, and this is also shown in screen. So you can see that the XSS was on top of that. So we can't ignore these attacks, as organizations are also accepting these attacks, right? Also, we cannot rely on the user system, right? Someone Let's take an example, like you are all viewing this presentation from like mobile, from laptop or tablet, and you might also be like using the Windows system, Mac OS or Linux or anything else, right? And if we think about in detail, the applications which you have access this particular application from the your browser, right? So browser might be a vulnerable one or might be outdated one. Or if you think about like you have someone might have also used it from Internet Explorer or something, or that can be possibility. Means the attack views can be changed, means the surface like and should be changed. So if we think about state counters state 16% of users are still using Windows 7 as per July 2021. So that is outdated, and means you can think about the we can't rely on users technology which systems they are using, and that's why we should more focus on client side attacks, and we should more focus on patching on this particular attacks, right? So let's discuss about client-side attacks. These are the few client-side attacks which I have mentioned on the slide. Uh, you can just we can say that it's client-side cross-site scripting, HTML injection, session hijacking, cross-site request forgery, insecure chorus, cross-site WebSocket hijacking, insecure cross-document messaging, sub-resource integrity, referer header leakage, polyglot file uploads, click checking, web storages, DOM based like DOM clogging attack, and reverse tab nabbing, reflected file document attack, and many more, right? So if you think about few attacks mentioned on the slide, let's say reverse tab nabbing, these attacks are also like browsers are also trying to patch that, and adopting the new technologies to remove these particular attacks from the like default configurations. If you want to change that particular configuration, you can, but the default configuration will not allow cross-site request forgery, or you can say reverse tabbing, right? So cross-site request forgery is also browsers has implemented LAX directive, and in the cookie if you set that LAX attribute, it will not or LAX or none, same site cookie, right? So it will not allow to grab the cookies from the other origins, right? So that's our implementation, and developments are going on the browser sites as well. So that's the part of that's one more importance. We can say that browsers are also effectively patching the client side attacks and minimizing the risk of that particular attacks, right? So let's start to deep dive into the particular attacks. I will try to cover the one which are marked as bold over here. So first of all, it's a cross-domain messaging, right? So what is cross-domain messaging? It's generally like we can say that communicate between the cross origin. We can say that a cross origin can be two different tabs on the browser, or a parent or a child pop-up window, or we can also say that a parent or embedded iframe, right? So if we want to talk about two different tabs in the browser, and if you want to send a message to iframe from the application itself, then that application developers do use cross domain messaging. How we can use, let's say, to implement the cross domain messaging, we can use the senders if we want to send something to another tab or another window or another domain, means we can say the page, right? So it is like post message function. And if you want to receive from that particular other domains, and we need to grab the data and implement that something features on, there are few other techniques like on message, on receive message, at event listener. These are the few functions or methods we can use. So let's see the functionalities. Like if you are thinking about like when will I need this particular features, right? Means what kind of features I can try to explore when I'm doing pen testing or anything else, right? So there are a couple of features I have listed over here. So track consignments means, let's talk about like travel agency or anything like taking the courier. Let's take an example of Blue Dart or any DHL or any, right? So if you think about like Blue Dart or FedEx or any company's website is website, we need to just add the consignment number and we can track the details, right? So in the background, it will like when we enter the like let's say when you provide any details, and it dynamically updates, means it frequently checks for the update, like this packet was delivered or like status of the packet, right? So in that particular case, we can also use cross-domain messaging, like using the post message or any other techniques that can be possible. Add event listener on the methods, right? So the other thing is track user sections, means we are going to access any particular application, and there you might have also observed that the application in the background sends the user's actions, like you are clicking on particular functions, or you are navigating to like you have also observed like that any applications, e-commerce application, when you move to the like address bar, and the pop-up will be visible that we have offer for you, right? So what is that? That is a tracking of your mouse cursor, right? When you move mouse to out of the like window, out of page, that then it will pop up the screen and you say that wait, you can get an offer and you can apply for it and you can grab it, right? So that is actually a tracking of users action. So these are also beneficially in the like users performance and this all, right? So they can improve the performance. So in the background they can also use this particular cross domain messaging for to support this features. uh, to next feature, like we can say that if you are going to block the credit card feature request on like the from the application payment.abc.com, you are requesting on the particular application like www.abc.com. If this feature is misconfigured, then the payment will be like request from the arbitrary domains uh, can be tracked, right? So what an attacker can do is when you are surfing this particular site, they can send a cross domain request to your domain like payment.abc.com, or from like it looks like that you have initiated, but you did not initiate it. It was initiated from www.attacker.com, right? So that is that's one of the feature which can be vulnerable as well. There are also support chat features listed on the slide, and there is also a these users or colleagues or friends features. So these are a few features which you can focus to check for the cross domain messaging service. So what is like exploiting cross-domain messaging? So in the test case, you can say that the methods post message, add event listener, on message are vulnerable to that particular feature, right? So if the applications have used like post message data, and then the domain is star, you can see the star after that, like data and star, right? So star means the domain is wildcard, and you can provide any of the domain, means that the post message request is accepting the domains from any domains, right? So that can be possible. And in another case, like if the applications is using add event listener or on message methods and does not validate the origin, it can allow to send from an arbitrary domains, right? So this is all we can use to exploit post message service, post message, and then the data to be sent. Here you can send the payload of that particular application. You can also do XSS using this particular technique, and you can also perform any malicious functions which the application is accepting. So here are the another like code blocks which might be vulnerable to, which can help that this is the vulnerable to cross domain messaging, right? So these are the case studies, few case studies mentioned on the slide, like Facebook was also vulnerable to cross domain messaging service, and then Google, then Slack, then HackerOne, and also a Shopify, right? So these most of them are targeting to perform cross-site scripting, but that is not the only case which you can perform using it. You can also try to uh, abuse the functionalities which I already like discussed, that these are the features you can abuse, right? So let's talk about this. Actually, this was all from like cross domain messaging service, and you can explore more in the white paper as well. So let's talk about same origin policy. So what is origin? Origin actually a schema, host, or port, right? So what is same origin policy? Same origin policy is nothing but a security implementation which helps to restrict the document from accessing other origin, right? So again, what is origin, right? The question is, what is origin? Origin is nothing but schema, host, and ports combination, right? So here we can say that the example provided on the URL provided on the slide is like https example.com/directory and page.html, right? So here we can say the schema is http, https, sftp, or ftp or smb, right? It can be anything. And the host is like example.com, admin.example.com. So these both are different hosts, not a single host. Like this is a subdomain, but we can consider as a different host. And even if it is like subdomain, but it will be considered as a different origin, means that are not the same origin for the browser. uh, who actually who actually gets the origin validation, right? You might have a question that the browsers are are actually matching the origin and restrict access to particular origin. So even if you think about all the client side attacks, there will be a major role of browser to like um, to get an impact on this particular attacks. So you can also say that if you are using the same domain but the ports are different, then also it will be a different origin. Let's see more into this. So here is a table which will clearly mention that if the request originating from the example.com/directory/page, so if I am originating request to this particular URL mentioned in the table, will that be allowed to my request or not? So the answer to this question is, if the schema, host, and port are matching, then it will be allowed. Otherwise, it will not allow, right? So first two URLs, all the things are matching, so it should be allowable. And in the next URL you can see that the port is not matching, and as well as schema, so it will not allow. In the third one, the port, and again the port is different, like 8080 on the in the first one 8080 port was there, right? So it will not allow. In the third one, in the fifth one, you can say that the port is 8443, means only port is different, so it will not allow. In the last two, we can say that the domain is different, the subdomain and the other domain was used, so it will not allow to access the request from that particular domain. So let's see about cross origin resource sharing. What is cross origin resource sharing? So as we discussed that the origin restricts to access the particular feature or functions, right? So what is the functionality to support this cross origin resource sharing, right? So there are a couple of features which we can use, like some of our XML HTTP request. You can send XML HTTP request and grab the data from that particular other domain, right? So let's take an example of, if you are on www.example.com and you want to grab a response of api.example.com, right? So XML HTTP, using XML HTTP request, you can send a request to api.example.com and try to find that is it permissible or not, right? If it is permissible, then the response will be displayed on the page. Otherwise it will not. But how this request will be generated? Using JavaScript, XML HTTP request will be generated, and you can also say it is a Ajax programming kind of thing. And to retrieve the data, you can use the JavaScript call, and once the response will be received, it will display on the website's page, right? So when these particular features will be used, let's suppose you are on any particular application, you don't want to refresh the button or something, and you want to fetch the data from the backend, then you can use this XML HTTP request. Otherwise, if you are going to refresh the page, anyway, you can, if you are going to refresh, then you can call a new server side content and get the data. But this actually helps to like dynamic update on the web page, right? So how this is processed in like backend. So there is a concept of like pre-flight request. What is pre-flight request? It actually checks for the request is permissible by the server or not. So I take an example of like www.example.com and requesting it to the api.example.com, right? So what will be happen? In browser will send the request to api.example.com to check if the particular page or any resource is allowed to be accessible from the example.com or not, right? So this is all pre-flight request. When pre-flight request is required, for the options head and get request, it is not required. For other all requests like put, post, delete, it is required. And if it is a get request is sent, pre-flight is not required. If the server is configured to like configured with like access control allow origin and set with star, and the header is not set in the like request domain, the browser will not allow to fetch the response content, right? So even if you like if you have mentioned the like star, so what will happen, like if you send the get request, browser will deny because the credentials are not allowed to be used. That's right. So in short, we can say that the header is required. The access control allow origin header who will respond in the response will get a will have a list of domains which can be accessible or not, otherwise it will restrict the page. So let's say let's take an example of what is pre-flight request is. This is the example of pre-flight request. Pre-flight request is nothing but option request which is going to be sent by the browser to see let me give a little bit more background on this. If you are doing any transaction on that particular application from a, here it is mentioned that api.example.com is the domain, right, is the host. Means it is the domain which was requested from the origin is like example.com, right? So you are making a transaction on api, means you are sending an api.com example.com the request to do that some transactions, right? So that could be a put request or post request or delete request as well, right? So the browser will send options request and try to see which methods are allowed, right? Here you can see that the request method was post as the other domain other header is all clearly mentioned that the post and this all, right? So this is the pre-flight request. In the response of pre-flight request, there will be mentioned that the example.com will be allowed or not. So here is again a graphical presentation of like this particular attack or this particular functionality, right? So the domain, if the domain is different, then it will send the originate a pre-flight request and try to get the response from it and try to see the who can access this, right? So these are again the like the features which can be used like XML HTTP request, fetch API, font style sheet. Means nowadays style sheets are using the fonts, right? So font using the font face, you can provide the URL, and this particular request is also going through the chorus in the background by the browser. So images, if you load the images from the css, then also it will allow it will request to the pre-flight request and do the process. So these are the features which need to be focused to chorus. So actually discussing about what should not be allowed, like you should not include star as a in the response of that particular header. So it will like if you do star, it will allow any domain should be any domain will be allowed to access the documents, right? So what you should do, you should definitely put a list of domains which are allowed to access that particular resources or particular domains, right? So in addition, there is also a null. what is null means. In the response, if you are getting null, then you can actually create a HTML page like sandbox environment, and you using like data, text, and HTML, and then you can provide a script which can send a cross origin request. So it is actually a bypass of all the things, and you will directly get the, you can fetch the request responses of that particular page using, if it is allowed, null. So this is a general misconfiguration by a developer to allow like null is actually nothing but a local host. Means if you think about like 127.0.0.1 and or local host, it will show as a null. So in general, developer try to add the null as well as a allowed origin request, right? So these are a few case studies which is on cross origin resource sharing. Additionally, I want to also discuss on like what is the exploitation point of view of chorus, right? So generally what we do is like we simply report chorus by just seeing the response of star or any we try to make the change of like origin abc.xyz.com and try to see if that particular domain is allowed or not. So these are just a general case, and we try to report these particular findings as a low risk issue, right? But that is not the case. We can also try to exploit it to perform cross-site request forgery as well. How? That is also the possible case, because as we discussed that XHR request is supported, right? So what you can do is you can generate a XHR request from, like, if you are doing a CSRF, then there will be an option in the burp suite that to generate the XHR request and send it, right? So you can definitely try using this particular feature, and you can explore more things to like delete, add, edit user or anything else. Means you can leverage it to perform CSRF as well, and critical CSRF would be account record on anything else, right? Or adding admin user or adding any particular user in the background. So that can be the case of chorus. It is not actually taken more seriously, but it is a more serious vulnerability, and this should be taken care of. So let's move to the next vulnerability, cross-site WebSocket hijacking. Again, this was an interesting vulnerability when using the WebSocket traffic. First of all, what is WebSocket? It is just a HTML5 feature, and you can do a full duplex communication or a single TCP connection, right? What, how to use it and when to use? Like the application is let's talk about which are the possible functions which can be used by like WebSocket traffics. So if you think about possible functions, then the first function which will come in mind is like if the like something like price keeps change in the background. Like if you take an example of a trading website, a trading platform, then it will be like the real time, right? So price will be changed in independent. Like if you see USD INR, USD Bitcoin price or anything else, right? So the price is coming very quickly, right? So that is the functions in the background that might be using WebSocket. So you can deep dive into the WebSocket traffic, and you can try to see and open, like if it is any platform, like let's say www.example.com has a trading platform, and you are on the from attacker.com, you can simply mention this particular two code and try to initiate the web request from that particular console or the particular application. Then you might be able to capture all the traffic of like WebSocket. So that is a serious test case, and this was actually also, Facebook was also vulnerable to WebSocket hijacking, and the message was actually grabbed by all the like messenger application was vulnerable of like Facebook. So that was the case with Facebook as well. So here what is the like during the testing what to look. So you should look at like WS or WSS schema and try to grab the traffic if it is being initiated from that particular or not. And again, origin header to be checked. Origin, if origin is allowing like any arbitrary origin are allowed, then you can possibly hijack the WebSocket traffic. You can actually analyze the few requests from the browser and capture the traffic and just use it in a burp suite, and you will definitely uh, get a traffic in the WebSocket tab, right? Currently, latest burp are also supporting like intercepting the traffic of WebSocket and performing any malicious injection or something, right? So that can be a possibility. Also, I am also like telling that like not just traffic graving is the only thing we can use in WebSocket. We should also take a look at input validation attacks using WebSockets. Like you are going to add malicious input and you perform XSS or SQL injection or any other attacks to the using the WebSocket traffic, right? So let's see about the next topic. Next is web storage, local storage, and session storage. So when we think about the handling cookie, like handling authentication, right? So how it is being handled? Actually, we are doing cookie, but nowadays APIs, origins are also in place. So APIs are also using tokens, and tokens are generally being saved as local storage or session storage, right? So the general question will be, can't I use the local storage or session storage data using JavaScript? The answer is yes. You can definitely use, and there is no restriction to like there is no flag. Actually, in cookie you have a HTML, HTTP only flag to restrict that JavaScript access from the cookies, right? Cookies data. But here you don't have any control on the cookie. So I will suggest that using cookie is the best option with HTTP only, secure and send side flex. But using session storage or local storage is not a good option to save the your session storage data. So here is the like how to do that, means how you can grab the uh, session to rent data, right? So if you got XSS and you want to try a little bit more into it, then you can definitely try to set item, and you can try to get the item. The third line is like you can say that local storage dot get item fruits, right? So what it will do is it will fetch the fruits value, and that is mango, means it will try to grab the value of that particular token, right? So you can definitely use the local storage dot get item to retrieve the data from it and showing as an impact if you have accesses or any other vulnerabilities. So the next topic is sub resource integrity. Again, this is a very interesting and very uh, actually it was like famous when some airline industry's website was hacked and all the users payment information was leaked using this particular technique, right? So what is it? Like let's say if you have a web page www.example.com, and there are multiple like third party applications which are being using javascripts, like, so let's take an example of, if you are using on a www.example.com, if you are using RedTeam Summit.com and fetching a JavaScript from it, so what attacks can be possible? If an attacker get vulnerability on redteamsummit.com or some domain, other domain, attacker control domain, right? So that particular domains, if there is any particular vulnerability is exploited and JavaScript has been modified, then your page will blindly accept the JavaScript from that particular domain, and you will be able to accept it and also perform the all the transactions mentioned in the JavaScript, right? So that is the actual attack. How to prevent it? Actually, we can use integrity, means SHA like 384, means this is nothing but just a hash of that particular file mentioned over here, like example framework has this particular hash. So what browser will do, if we add integrity like this way, then the browser will only execute, means only adopt this file and take the content from this file or any perform any actions from this file only if this particular hash will be matched, right? So this is again the browser's role to do this, and that's how they are improving and they are preventing from the client side attacks. So this is the question will be like, how can I generate the hash, right? So simply you can use OpenSSL, and this particular commands will be used to generate the hash, and you can also like use it from the online portals available on the web application. So I think, let's okay. So finally, what is the conclusion? In my opinion, the client side attacks are also important, equally important as well as like server side attacks. In my opinion, like server side attacks, you have control over the servers, but you don't have control over user systems or users, what users are using, or what users are, what systems users are using, right? So that is equally important, and you should focus on that particular as well. Again, the CIA is impacts on the customer or end users. Like if you got accesses and you are tricking any user to grab the cookie from it, like, and that's a banking website, and you are getting a pass like cookie of that particular user, and you are going to do the transactions and this all, right? So there can be a possibilities which is in a client side attacks. So that's all from this presentation. You can definitely go to more reads and try to deep dive into the white paper, and as well as the other links provided on the website. So this is all from my end. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Sir,
Yes.
congratulations on the professional quality of your presentation, sir. You
Thank
addressed the problems and benefits of client-side attack, cross-domain messaging, cross-origin resource sharing, web storage, sub-resource integrity in a very good way. And your visual aids were interesting and easy to understand. I appreciate the time and energy you put into this presentation. It's really showed on your presentation, sir. So you are definitely to be thanked and complimented for this information session. So we wish you a continued success in your professional life, sir. So yes, we understood that client-side attacks are equally important. And okay, sir, we can ask the audience about the question and answer. They have any queries or doubts regarding this session. Audience, do you have any questions to ask for Savan, sir? You can drop down your questions in the Q&A section, which you can see in your right-hand side of the panel.
Sure, you can drop down in a Q and I will answer those questions. And you can also reach out to me if you have any like further questions.
Yes, sir. One question is that, sir,
Yeah.
is the RCE blind or other possible through URL parameters? I used it to cross-check URL params with RCE payloads. Is there any bug possibility with it? Should I need to avoid it, or please where to find RCE? That's the question, sir. Asked by Master Wire Shark. Not name,
Okay,
actually.
uh, let me read that. Just is the RC blind? Okay, so I think this is particular question for blind RC only. So the question is like, how to validate the blind RC if I am not wrong. So the answer to these questions will be like, you can definitely try to do some blind techniques like using the DNS. Like you can do the ping or the particular DNS but collaborator or your private instance or anything else, and you can try to do that particular confirmation of blind RC. But this is actually not relevant to the presentation. But yeah, if you have any further doubts, you can definitely reach out to me. I will surely help to answer more if you required more details. The next, Do you have any questions? Yes.
Yes.
There is also other question is like
Please, how to approach finding bug in cloud platforms? Asked by same
okay.
person.
Again, this is not relevant to presentation, but I will try to answer it. To finding the bug on the cloud platform, I will suggest that you need to you need to first check that if it is like AWS environment. I'm very much like aware of AWS environment, and I'm not deep. I have not checked deep into like Azure or any other GCP platforms. But in AWS environment, if you can, you need to just validate few things on like checking the buckets, public buckets are available or not. And then there are a number of burp plugins available in the like in the burp store, and you can definitely use to automate this. But if you want to do manually, then you need to focus on the on the buckets. And you can try to do if there is any public bucket is available or not. Additionally, there are also possible test cases regarding to retrieving access key, ID, and secret token, and perform further attacks to see these particular tokens have access to other services or not. Means if you have access to that particular token, access key, and secret token, right? So what you can do is you can use the number of tools to simply brute force the like what are the various functionalities available on that particular AWS instance. Like S3 bucket is allowed, Lambda function is allowed, or EC2 instance is allowed. So that is all you can use to brute force, and you will retrieve the details from that particular tool. And if there is any accessible EC2 instance or anything else, you can definitely look at the key and try to access that particular system, right? So again, if I am not if I have not covered all the things which is according to your question, please feel free to connect me after this presentation. I will definitely answer in more description. Is there any other question?
We have one more question. How to identify client among 10,000 infected with attack? That's the question. Asked by Koturi Harikumar.
How to identify client among 10,000 infected attacks? I think the question is related to like how to identify client's browser or client or user from like 10,000 infected attacks. Means I'm confused with the questions itself, but I will like, can you yeah, I think the question was corrected in the last. How to identify one rough client among 10,000 requests without monitoring the tools in a global network. Actually, I'm not getting this question correctly. Can you also focus
Forward
on
to
like
other
how?
questions.
So I think the person is asking that how to find the vulnerable client only. That is the question, as I think. So
Maybe,
that is
maybe.
like yes. So using the like attack, like if you are on particular application, then you can definitely try to see. Means it is actually social engineering comes in this picture, and you need to grab the details of what client is using, what is client system, what client like browser or something, any more details as much as you can. And then you can attack that particular client.
So we can move on to the next question. Is CSRF possible for XML pages? Asked by KVS Tilak.
Yes, actually, if XML pages are like using like as I have explained that the chorus is also possible in chorus. Using chorus you can do CSRF, right? So if it is a chorus request, means and accepting the functionality is accepting cross origin request and allowing chorus request, then it could be possible to perform XSS XML on XML pages. You can do the CSRF as well. So there are few techniques uh, which need to be check, and the headers, like actually the header is allowed or not. This should be checked, but yes, it is possible.
Then one more question. How to identify one raw client among 10,000 without monitoring tools in a global network? In a
That
global
is, I
network.
think, the questions which we answered is the same.
Oh,
Means it was a confusion on, yeah.
okay.
Actually, the person has typed 3 times.
The second next question also has a meaning. How to identify infected client among 10,000? We also answered for that question, I think. And any more questions from audience? We can wait for a few minutes if there is any questions from audience.
Sure.
You can put your doubts and questions in the Q&A section on your right hand side of the screen.
Is it possible to hijack HTTP only cookie via XSS or CSRF? HTTP only cookie via XSS, no. Or CSRF, no. Answer is no. Means if it is like cookie is HTTP only, cookie has HTTP only flag, then you can not access it using the JavaScript, and you can't grab the cookie using any of the technique. In general, we generate POC, CSRF, POC generator. How to generate PSRF with POC with XML pages? So for XML pages, you need to like send the request to the generate POC, and in the top of it, you will see 4 options to generate XHR request, normal request, and this all. So just select the XHR request and click on the below button like generate again. So it will give you a page which has a chorus, and it will send the XML request as well.
We
So
have
connect
more
with me.
questions.
Like if you have any questions with that particular thing, I will try to explain it. What would you say
Yeah, one more question also there.
are the best? Okay, what would you say are the best networking network monitoring tools? Right. So again, it is not relevant question, but which like network monitoring tools?
Okay,
Which
so
kind of network monitoring? Yeah, this is actually a networking question, but yeah, I will check with this particular user and I will answer this.
okay, so shall we wait for one more minute, sir, or we can just
Okay,
wind
fine,
up?
sure.
Audience, do you have any more questions to ask to Savan, sir? I think the questions are finished, sir. They all
Okay, no
understood
problem.
this topic very well.
Mhm.
Any more questions from the audience? You can ask to the ask to Savan, sir. Okay, sir. Let me. We can wind up. I think. Uh, oh, one
Okay,
more question.
actually, someone has,
Yeah.
okay, just someone has asked the book name. It is not a book, just a white paper, and I have mentioned the PDF link of that particular white paper. Right.
Any more
Okay.
questions, guys? You can put your all doubts in the Q&A section. I think there is no more questions from the audience, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you, to be here with me. And let me know if you face any if you have any question. I will definitely try to check it offline and definitely answer those. Thank you again. Thank you for the day.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasant, informative session and Q&A session, of course. And sir, I think we all done with the Q&A session now, sir. Would you like to give any concluding notes to the audience and viewers from different part of the world watching this session?
I think regarding the topic, I have already covered conclusion note. But yes, the have a, this is a virtual conference, and we are all habituated with it. So let's do that more and more as far as possible. And it is very convenient as well. Means from the world you can access any conference without going there and this all. So there are some benefits and there are some drawbacks as well. But yeah, this is the way we are going to do.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Have a great
Thank you so
day.
much for being with us, sir. We would like to have you in the future ventures also. On behalf of Red Team Hacker Academy and from the audience side also, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was a memorable day in my life with you, sir. I hope you are also enjoyed this session and the conference with our students and participants. Thank you, audience. Now we have an upcoming session by Dr. Erdal Ozgaya about the topic, the need of colored teams. The session will start at 1:30 p.m. sharp. You guys stay tuned and switch over to the next stage after 30 minutes of break. Thank you. And of course, a massive thank you to all our event partners, supporting partners, community partners, media partners, and tech partners for this year's Red Team Security Summit 2021. We are very grateful for your continued support of this essential event. A big thank you to our proud community partners, WICS, a community for empowering women and girls in cybersecurity, ASRG, Automotive Security Research Group, OWAS, Seasides, Cyber Peace Foundation, Computer Society of India since 1965, Cyberfrat, a tech fraternity, WICY, WICIS, Women in Cybersecurity, InfoSec Diversity, Shell, an open security community by Red Team, Coffee with Red Team, DEFCON 29, Adversary Village, and our media partners, Secure Reading, Bluepin, and our event organizer, Red Team Hacker Academy, and our official organizers, Red Team Hacker Academy, Red Team Cybersecurity Labs, your trusted cybersecurity advisory partner, our tech partner, Hack the Box, a massive hacking playground, and our supporting partners, CAFIT, Calcutta Forum for IT, GTech, the collaborative of IT companies in Kerala, Paya2, research-powered cybersecurity services and training, Cyberpark Calicut, creating opportunities. Thank you to one and all the partners on behalf of Red Team Security Summit 2021. Guys, go and check out the booths which is shown in the left hand side of your screen. There you can discuss with the stalls of Red Team and Hack the Box, etc. about the cybersecurity related topics. Thank you for all your great cooperation once again. Here we are winding up this session. Have a good day to all.